Hey, hello. You're stuck in trouble with Wolf Gorlick, few minutes riffing on IT and IT security. Today, looking at storage, disks, RAID, storage area networks, SANs, and all that jazz. You know, there are many patterns of behavior that lead to success, and many patterns of behavior that lead to problems. And in InfoSec, it's very clear how a simple pattern or a simple way of thinking can lead to challenges. For example, pen testers go, "It was easy to break, should be easy to fix." I got in easily, so it should be easy to remediate. And therein lies a tale of every single pen test ever and all the remediation effort that comes out of them. On the contrary, defenders tend to go, "It was hard to set up and it's hard to administrate, therefore it should be hard to break." Not really, not always. And so when you think about things through that lens, one very good example is storage, right? It's hard to set up storage networks. They're expensive. They take a long time. It's hard to reconstruct when a disk fails. Doesn't necessarily mean it's secure. So tip for you, protect your storage disks and give some thought to your storage array networks for your IT on the ground. Just because you don't have all the disks in a RAID array does not necessarily mean the criminals can't get data out of it. So of course a RAID is a way of striping data across multiple disks. Maybe you got a simple like one disk, two disk parity disk, and therefore if you lose this disk and you slide another one in between these two and the parity disk, you can reassemble it. Simple RAID. There's a lot more to it. I'm not covering RAID types. Someone's going to complain in comments or on Twitter or on Reddit. I get it, but this is not stuck in traffic storage area networking with Wolf Gorlick. Point is, you have data striped against it. And if you lose one or more disks, or maybe if you only have one of the three disks in my very simple example, from an engineering perspective, it's very, very hard to mount that. Almost impossible. But it does not necessarily mean it's very, very hard for criminals to get data off, specifically stealable data. What could they do? They could do things such as simply DD the disk and grip the bits and look for social security numbers or credit card numbers. No RAID needed. They can use open source forensics tools. There's also a thing called RStudio. RStudio is a way of rebuilding RAID file systems and then recovering as much data as you can at the forensics level when you don't have all the disks. What this means is, if you have a RAID array and you're counting on it to protect your data, maybe you got some physical security so people can't get to it, you're like, good, I don't need to decrypt. You still need to be very, very careful when you retire those RAID arrays. Shred the disk just like you would a disk in a normal desktop, because there's still data on that, and even though it's in a RAID array, and even though it may be on multiple extents striped against multiple different systems, criminals can still get at it. So still nuke it, so it's zero, shred it, follow your normal process just as if it was a standalone server drive. Because just because it's hard for us does not necessarily mean it's hard for the attackers. And just because it's easy to pen test does not necessarily mean it's easy to fix. Have you looked at the cost of self-encrypting disks? All right, enough about that. What do you think about storage array networks? Do you got any good security tips? Hit me up on social media or in comments. Cheers.